Okay, students. This is Fluid Mechanics Laboratory MMC 204. In today's lecture, I'll be explaining experiment number 3, that is verification of Bernoulli's theorem. Uh, and the lecture I have planned in two sessions, two parts. First of all, I will explain the theoretical details, the aim of the experiment, the apparatus required, then the procedure, then the calculation, tabulation, and conclusion. It will give you a virtual explanation to you about the experiment. And once that part is clear, then I'll be adding few videos related to the laboratory experimental setup and how the experiment is being conducted, different parts of this experimental setup and all, to finally give you a clear picture of the experiment. So the two sessions, first of all, we will start with the PowerPoint, and there we'll try to understand the experiment in details. I've tried to give you as much information as possible in the slides itself, so that it gives a clear virtual feel of the experiment, what is the outcome and what is the purpose of this experiment. And if you understand the PowerPoint properly, then I don't think you will have any problem in relating this to the practical setup in the laboratory experimental things. Okay, we'll go ahead with that. So first of all, okay, aim of the experiment is to verify the Bernoulli's theorem. Apparatus required. The apparatus required for carrying out this experiment are the Bernoulli's theorem verification experimental setup and a stopwatch. So here I will be showing you the Bernoulli's theorem verification apparatus, which is available in the Fluid Machine Laboratory, Department of Mechanical Engineering. It looks somewhat like this. This is the setup, and this is called as the Bernoulli's theorem verification, Bernoulli's theorem verification experimental setup. The different parts of this experimental setup are here. I'll just show you one by one. This is a reservoir called as a water reservoir, which is basically the storage of the water, from where the water is being circulated throughout the experimental setup. Fine. Now this one is a pump for water circulation. This pump is used to circulate the water from this reservoir. It goes to the inlet tank. From the inlet tank, through this connecting pipe of diverging cross section, it comes to outlet tank. From that, it comes to this collecting tank, and again back to the reservoir. So this is the pump. Third is this one is the discharge controlling valve. Through this valve, you can control the amount of discharge being flowing to the inlet tank. Next part is this one is the inlet chamber. Fine. Now this one is a connecting pipe with a converging cross section. You could see this side is having a larger cross section as compared to this side. So this inlet and the outlet tanks are being connected through a pipe of a converging cross section. Fine. The next part is the outlet chamber. This one is the outlet chamber. This is the outlet valve. Okay. So this is being used to discharge water from the outlet valve, and this water is being collected in this collecting tank. This is the water collecting tank, and which is being used for experimental determination of the discharge. I'll explain you why. I will explain you how. And you could see a number of piezometers being connected, being attached at various points over this converging pipe. These are the piezometers. The scales, you could see the total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 number of piezometers, and which is the piezometers are being used to give you the measurement of the pressure head, and the scales here, the reading in the scales is being used to measure the meniscus level, indicating the pressure head. Right. So these are the different parts or different components of the Bernoulli's theorem verification experimental setup. In addition to this Bernoulli's theorem verification setup, we need one more thing, that is a stopwatch. The stopwatch is being used to calculate or measure the time taken for filling this water collecting tank up to a certain level, certain height. So the volume of the water being collected divided by time will be giving the discharge at last, right? So these are the different components or the different components of the verifications, bondless theorem verification setup. Now coming to the next slide. Okay. Yes. Theoretical background. So as we are going to verify the bondless theorem, and I expect you might have already been introduced to the bondless theorem. Uh, I will just have a brief explanation of this theorem and how this theorem has been derived. So means that I'll just give a brief theoretical aspect of this theorem, so that you can have a clear verification with the practical in the next part of the slide. So this slide is devoted to the theoretical background of the bondless theorem. Let's consider a non-viscous incompressible fluid passing through a passage as shown in the figure. You could see this is a passage of varying cross section. This side you're having a larger cross section A1, and here they have got a smaller cross section A2. So the fluid is flowing over there. We're assuming that the fluid is non-viscous and incompressible, so there don't be any losses. We're assuming the system is conserved. There is no losses at all. Fine. So let's consider non-viscous incompressible fluid passing through a passage as shown in the figure. The different terms are clear. P is the pressure, A is the area of cross section, F is the force. Fine. So V is the velocities, V1, V2 are the velocities. Fine. So next point, during a certain time interval dt, a certain volume of water dV at inlet A1 will be traveling through a distance dx1 with a velocity v1. Yes. For a certain time interval say dt, a specific volume of water say dv, okay, will be traveling with a velocity v1 through a certain distance dx1 at inlet A1. Right. Similarly, if I consider the section A2 as per equation of continuity, you know, A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. So as per equation of continuity, what will happen at the outlet side where the area of cross section is a little bit smaller, A2. So there, as per equation of continuity, the same volume of water dV will be flowing with a velocity v2 through a distance dx2. Okay, and as per equation continuity, you know that v2 will be larger than v1. Okay, similarly, the the distance traveled dx2 will be higher than as compared to dx1. Fine. So next point, so the total work done on the fluid during this time interval will be given by total work done is equal to F1 into dx1 minus F2 into dx2, where F1 and F2 are the forces. So force can be converted in terms of pressure into area. So pressure in P1 A1 into dx1 minus P2 N2 to dx2. So P1 minus P2. So A1 dx1, A1 into dx1 and A2 to dx2 will be the same volume dV, the same control volume which we are considering at the inlet and outlet. So ultimately the expression comes to be P1 minus P2 into dV. So this is the total work done. As per conservation of energy, this total work done on the fluid volume during this interval of time dt will be summation of changes in kinetic energy and potential energies. This is conservation principle of conservation of energy. So if I apply that, then this total work done dW will be change in kinetic energy plus change in potential energy. So I can mention it like this: P1 minus P2 into dV is equal to change in kinetic energy will be half rho dV V2 square minus V1 square. Similarly, your change in kinetic energy will be rho dVg y2 minus y1, where y2 and y1 are the datum distances of the center of the straight line from the datum level, y2, and this is y1. Okay. Fine. So it ultimately, if I cancel dV on both the sides, it ultimately leads to this equation. Okay. And so if I just bring all the one terms one side and the two terms other side, it leads to this equation. So I will have this. So yes. So fine. So this is my this is my equation. So pressure head per velocity head plus datum head is equal to constant. So this is my Bernoulli's theorem. At any point on the straight line, the pressure head plus the velocity head plus the datum head is constant. That is the Bernoulli's theorem, statement of Bernoulli's theorem, which is indirectly a statement of the conservation of energy. So we are going to check this experimentally. This is the theoretical background of this. Coming to next slide. Okay, procedure. So how do we perform this experiment? The procedure to experimentally verify Bonner's theorem has been briefed below. So our target is this equation, that is Pn by rho g plus Vn square by 2g plus Yn is equal to constant. Yn, because n is at different points. Because this total energy is constant at all the points of the streamline. So n indicates the point where you want to calculate the total energy. Fine. So out of all these terms, just see now. This is our main focus is where we'll be basically concentrating upon. This one is this is just a zoomed view of that inlet tank and the outlet tank, and which has been connected by this a pipe of converging cross section that you can see here. So there are total 14 number of piezometric tubes, and in this A1, A2, A3, A4, these up to A14 are the cross-sectional areas of each of these piezometric tubes, which is a known data, is known to you. Okay. Fine. So this is our main concern area. Fine. Coming to the first term, that the Yn. Yn indicates the datum head because all these piezometric heads, all these piezometers are being connected at the same level. So you can show, I can show it like this. If this is the datum, then all these points, I can say Y1, Y2, Y3, Y4, Y5 up to Y14, all are at same level. So Yn is equal to Yn for all, identify this Yn in general, it's same for all the piezometric tubes. So this Y is constant for all of them. So this need not to be considered in this. This need not to be considered in this particular experiment. So ultimately, we convert this equation to this two form. We want to check the pressure head plus the velocity h is constant, because Yn is same for all. So that we are not considering in this present experiment. Okay. Because we're expecting this pressure and velocity head have to be changing for each piezometer, so that is to be concerned. That is the main concern in this particular experiment. So we are going to calculate these two things only: pressure head and velocity head. Okay. Now coming to the pressure head. Pressure head at each piezometer point can be calculated through the height of the fluid meniscus read through the piezometer. That's called to be Hn. How do we do that? Because when you do the experiment, you will be starting the experimental setup. You allow the water to be flowed from the reservoir. I have shown there was a reservoir, there was a pump. That pump will be making the water to flow from the reservoir to the inlet tank, and then from the inlet tank, this is the inlet tank. In fact, right hand side you can see this inlet tank. From the inlet tank, the water will be flowing through the outlet tank through this pipe of varying cross sectional area. Okay, so you allow it to flow for some time. So there'll be continuous flow, and you will see for a steady state, you will find that when for a steady state of flow, you will find that water level in this piezometers, you will find the water level in the piezometers to be somewhat looking like this. I've just animated it. You could see it experimentally also. It will be swinging like this. This is an animated view. You could see here I've shown this height for the piezometer 1. The water level in the piezometer 1 is H1. Similarly, it will be H2, H3, H4 up to H14. So this is varying. So this pressure head, you could see that as the area of cross section is gradually reducing, you could see the pressure head is also gradually getting reduced. Okay, so that this height is indicating the pressure head directly. So this Pn by rho g depends the P1 by rho g, you can say. So P1 by rho g is nothing but H1 is directly measured through the height of the or you can say through the piezometric heights. Okay, that will be coming from the experiment directly. You just have to see the look at the scales, and for a particular discharge or for a particular flow rate, you just have to take these readings. What is the readings for this 14 piezometers? You just note it down: H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6, H7, H8, H9, H10, H11, 12, 13, and 14. This is a reading to be taken from the experiment. So this is the first reading to be taken, which will be indicating us the pressure heads at each manometer. Sorry, at each piezometer. So this is this is how we'll be taking the pressure head. Okay. Now coming to the second term, that's the velocity head. Velocity head at each piezometer point is calculated through the formula Vn square by 2g. Again, the n indicates the particular piezometer. The n in the particular setup, your n varies from 1 to 40. So Vn square by 2g can be calculated like this. So you see Vn means V is the velocity head. So the velocity head is being calculated because 2g is known to you. Vn is the only concern. How will calculate Vn? Vn can be calculated like this. I've shown it here. V, suppose for the 14th piezometric point, V14 is equal to Q divided by A14, means Q is a discharge. You need to know the discharge because at a steady state, you must have a specific discharge. Okay, volume of water divided by time. So that discharge divided by cross-sectional area of the specific piezometer will give you the velocity at that particular piezometer. Similarly, suppose for V5, V5 will be discharge divided by area of cross section A5. Similarly, so as this area of cross sections are known to you, so if you know the discharge, then simply by dividing the corresponding cross section area of the piezometric points, you can have the velocities. Fine. So, so only thing is to know the discharge. Okay. So how to know the discharge? The discharge can be known just with, yeah, the discharge can be known by simply I've shown in the first slide that you have got a collecting tank. So you will allow the cross section of the collecting tank is known to you. Then what you will do at steady state, you will allow that collecting tank to get filled up to a certain height. Okay, so that height is in your hand. So you with the stopwatch, you check that what is the time taken for that collecting tank to getting filled up to a certain height. So cross-sectional details, cross-sectional area of that collecting tank is known to you. If you multiply the height with that, you'll get the volume. So volume divided by time taken will give you the discharge. Okay. So discharge will be calculated, and once the discharge value is known to you, then you divide that discharge with all these cross-sectional areas. You will get the velocities. So that is how you can get the pressure head and the velocity head at all the piezometric points. I hope if this slide is clear, then the entire experiment is clear to you. The gist is that we are not calculating the datum head because it is constant for all. We are just concerned with the pressure head and velocity head. We are concerned with pressure head and velocity head at all the piezometric points. That means we have to calculate it for the 14 piezometric points. Now, how to get pressure head at each piezometric point? Simply you just measure the height of the meniscus. That height is indicating the pressure head. So that is one input from the experiment you have taken. You noted it down. Then for the second input you'll be taking the velocity head at each piezometric point. How will getting that? You'll be getting that from the discharge, this formula, discharge Q divided by cross-section area. So discharge you'll be getting the procedure I told you, that you measure the time taken for getting that height, that tank getting filled up to certain height. So volume divided by time, you'll get the discharge. So you got, so if you now you'll be getting pressure head and velocity head for all the piezometric points. Now if you add them up, you must be getting a constant value. You should get a constant value if the losses are minimum, and if at all there will be losses, if at all there will be losses. So because of this losses only, this value will not be exactly same. At each piezometric point you'll be getting approximately same value with certain variations. These variations will be indicating the losses. Okay, so that will be seen into the I'll share some of the practical data taken from the experiment. From there you can see it, you can verify it. So this is the procedure. Now coming to the tabulation. So here I'm showing you the tabulation. A sample tabulation for the discharge Q1. As I said, Q1 can be calculated by volume of the collecting chamber divided by time to collect the water up to a certain height, 15 centimeter. Suppose 15 centimeter, that height can be varied. This the cross section of the collecting tank is known to you. That is this is 4 meters. This is 4 in 10 to the 4 meters. And this is 15 10 to 2 meters. These are actually known values. The cross section area is known to you. Into height is say 16.75. This is a data been taken. I'll just share you. This is the data. I've taken it from one of the records of the seniors. you could see this is serial number 1 to 10. There are 4 more readings which I have not shown. As there are total 14 number of piezometers, there will be 14 readings. I've shown up to 10. So these are the piezometric heads. HN I was talking about. This is the height of the meniscus of the water level in the piezometers. That indicates the pressure head. This is the area of cross section A1, A2, A3 up to A10. The velocity head is being calculated like this: the discharge divided by time. That is velocity head divided by 2g. That's getting you the velocity head. So pressure head is here, velocity head is here. If you add them, the total head almost remains constant to be 82 meters, approximately varying almost 82 point something. So it approximately varying at from piezometer point to piezometer point. That loss is because of the losses, as I said. So this is all about the experiment. You can repeat the experiment for say 2, 3 or 4 number of different discharges. Okay, means you will start the experiment. You as I've shown, there was a discharge controlling valve. You will maintain the discharge at a certain. You will adjust the discharge control valve so that discharge through the system or the circuit will be maintained at a particular level, particular value. Then you conducted the experiment, got the pressure head, got the velocity head, and made this tabulation like this. Again, you continued the experiment for few more discharges, like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. You can repeat the experiment. You can make similar tabulations. I could see that, you could verify that the pressure head and the velocity head summation is coming to be same approximately. So this is the experiment. Coming to the Bernoulli's equation may be verified for different discharges also. The same thing what I said. Now the conclusions are, it has been found that the summation of pressure head and velocity head at all piezometric points are approximately constant. You could see it in this table what I've given you. The variation in the total energy head at different piezometric points occurs due to the losses incurred due to formation of eddies at sharp changes in at the sharp change in cross section corresponding to piezometric points, and also due to gradually diverging dot section. Because you're using a gradually diverging dot section, that may lead to some kinds of eddies formation, and also when the at the piezometric points, when the water will be entering to the piezometers, there is a sharp change in cross section that also leads to some losses. So because of these losses, there will be certain variations in the total pressure head at the different piezometric points, indicating the losses. Okay, so this is all about the verification of Bernoulli's theorem. This is the total theoretical part, and a virtual view of the experiment and how it is to be conducted, what the various parameters to be taken care of, and conclusion, tabulation, and all. This is all about the experiment. I will take you to the next slides, and in the next section I'll be showing you a few videos explaining the actual experimental procedure to be conducted. Thank you. We have a chamber. This is the water chamber. It's the main collecting chamber, water chamber. From here, we have got a motor over here, which is used for extracting water from this chamber to this inlet. This is the inlet collecting chamber. From this, you have got a cross section. We have got a channel of varying cross section area. You could see that this is a larger cross section. This side is a comparative lower cross section, and this side is the outlet chamber. And from that, you could see the water is getting collected over this particular tank, which is basically used for measuring the discharge of the water. Right? So the major parts are like this. This is the primary or the main chamber, water collecting chamber. This is the inlet water tank. This is the outlet water tank, connected through a pipe of a varying cross section area. And each point you could see a number of piezometers being connected, which would be indicating the pressure head. Okay, so See, now we have started I've switched on the motor. You could see that, okay, this is the discharge control valve through which the discharge has been controlled. Fine. Now water is coming through this pipe, and it has been collected over up to certain distance. This is indicating the level of water in this input tank. Now you could see the different you could see the piezometric readings in the different piezometers. See, is it visible? दिख रहा है? Yes. You could see that the pressure heads to the different piezometers is gradually reducing as the cross-sectional area is reducing. You can see that. Fine. So this is a decrease in pressure head at the cross-sectional area is reducing. At the same time, at the same points, the velocity heads will be expected to be increased in order to keep the pressure, total energy constant. Fine. We'll check that. So you have to take this readings, this scale readings for the measurement of the pressure heads. Fine. Now coming to the discharge, you could see this is the collecting tank, and here, you could see this. The time taken to collect the water up to a certain level, that time will be recorded, and the height of the liquid collected inside this collecting tank will be measured, and multiplying that height into the cross section of this collecting tank, this length into this breadth is known to you, into the height will give you the total volume of water. This volume divided by the time taken will be giving you the discharge.